with another weekly update video, and I'm excited to catch you up on the books I've been reading this week. Not only that, but in today's video I'm going to set out the content you can expect next week, as well as the books I'm planning on reading over the next 7 days in order to hopefully complete the Goodreads Spring TBR Challenge. Let's take a look at what I've been reading. The first book really I was keen to make quick progress with this week was finishing my audiobook listen of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I was completely sold on this audiobook. I loved it. Even though there were elements of the book I wasn't sure about when I first picked it up, I quickly fell in love and I knew I had to get to the bottom of what happened with this book. So I finished this audio pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. I had around 3 hours, 40 minutes of audio left when I caught you up in my last weekly update vlog. And I basically progressed with that and finished the book midweek around Thursday. Now I loved this audiobook so much that I basically pretty much put Artemis and The Martian, which are also written by Andy Weir, straight on my TBR. I have not read from this author up until now, but I was completely sold on the book. I loved the kind of the nerdy sciencey stuff that's interspersed in the narrative but not boring. And you know, I really enjoyed this leaning. And I enjoyed this book so much that I got the film, which came out in March, on Sky Store and watched it the same night to see how it compared. And my partner really enjoyed watching that as well, although he's never read or, shown any investment in the book. It's a little less sciencey, which is my only kind of, I suppose it kind of has to be approachable to everybody. There are some elements that in the film that don't happen in the book, but overall, really good film. I think it was done very well for the kind of audience and obviously the time constraint it had. I really enjoyed that as well. So Project Hail Mary is a big tick for me in terms of enjoyment, but it's also a good win. It's a tick towards 2 achievements I need for the Goodreads Spring Challenge, being the Escapist Read prompt and the, I believe, Summer Reading prompt. So I feel like we're finally moving with some Goodreads progress. But I have more to do to get there. My next read over the course of the last 7 days has been picking up The Pillars of the Earth. Now this is a 1,000-page book, so rather than trying to solidly read this in one kind of batch without picking up anything else, I'm planning to read this over the remainder of the month. Now I do have some catching up to do. As you can see, I'm about a quarter of the way through the book as of filming. I worked out, I believe last week, that I need to be about 380 pages through in order to kind of be on track. And currently I'm starting chapter 5, which is page 306. So I have about 70 pages or so to go in order to get back on track, but I can 100% do that today. I'm filming at lunchtime, as I usually do on a Sunday, just because that suits me best in terms of timing, but that obviously gives me potential for this afternoon and this evening to read more. So maybe editing me can pop in a note as to where I get up to as of, prepping this video later this evening, so I can let you know whether I'm on track or not. But yeah, The Pillars of the Earth has been quite an interesting read. It's probably a slower paced read, I would say, than I typically pick up, and obviously being 1,000 pages, that's probably shouldn't come as a surprise. But I'm still interested in this one. For its slower pace, there's still plenty enough in here to keep us invested in what's going on, the characters, and kind of the wider backdrop of what's going on. So all in all, solid experience so far. I'll be continuing to chip away with this one, and I'll be updating you over the coming weeks as to whether I get to complete the book. This does also contribute to a Goodreads reading prompt. This is for the marathon reader prompt, so I obviously have the encouragement, I suppose, to finish this before the end of the month, so watch this space for more updates. Given I completed Project Hail Mary earlier this week, the second half of this week has been spent listening to Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. In my review video for Crown of Midnight, I talked about reading this book on my phone as something I believe to be causing a constraint in the earlier portion of the book, especially in terms of pace and generally slowing things down. A little bit of a teaser here, as I also talk about that in my upcoming review of Air of Fire, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this video. So I decided to try this book in audio format for Queen of Shadows to see if that helps kind of with that problem. Queen of Shadows is about 100 pages longer than Air of Fire, which in itself was about 140 pages longer than the first two books of the series. So we're really starting to get into some of the chunkier installments of the series, and I don't want to be held back by slow pacing in terms of keeping up with my read along. So I'm hopeful that picking this up in audio format is going to help me get round that kind of complication I've had in the past. Now, as things stand, I'm getting on pretty well with this audiobook. In the kind of, I suppose, last half of this week, I have listened to around 20% ish. I think just under 20%, but I can't be bothered working it out mathematically. So that gives you a ballpark figure anyway of where I'm up to. And I've listened to that quite quickly. I've had some kind of quieter periods where I've been able to make the use of audiobooks to help get through my reading progress. And obviously I'm invested to complete Queen of Shadows. Having been teased for a lot of things in Air of Fire, I'm now personally invested in this series rather than just reading it because I've committed to an online read along, if you like. So more to come on this one. I'm obviously just getting started, but as it happens, like the first 20% of this book has probably been the easiest 20% of my experience in the earlier books of the series so far. So far the audiobook is working, but that's going to be something I'm going to have to update you on as I keep going. And if that continues to work, then it's very likely I will finish the series in audio format. So those are the books I have been reading this week. And really the next kind of bit I like to talk about in these videos is what I'm going to be reading in the coming week. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, progress really will be looking to continue with both Queen of Shadows, but also The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. In last week's vlog, I also talked about a book that I wanted to start that as of recording, I haven't actually got to, and it's because I'm a little bit behind with The Pillars of the Earth, and that is Ink, Blood, Sister, Scribe. So I am hopeful to finish this book. Well, hopefully, but preferably start it first. I'm hopeful to start this book soon. Now, there's obviously one quite obvious big change in that I have new hair. So I actually wasn't home for very much yesterday, which I think contributes to why I'm behind with this one. And because I'm behind with this one, I won't start the new one. So really the commitment is getting on track, if not ahead with this one first. But I do want to keep tandem reading some other books at the same time. I need to pick those up for other Goodreads prompts, so I need to get on the ball really with picking up the other books around The Pillars of the Earth. So again, hopefully I can update you shortly with where I'm at in terms of those reads and really getting back on track with picking those up so I can, fingers crossed, at least get somewhat close to completing the Goodreads Spring Challenge. We will see. Finally, the last section of this video is giving you some insight as to what to expect in the coming days on my channel. I recorded a couple of other videos just before this one, the first of those being my kind of discussion opener really on whether I think some book subscription boxes are worth the money. Now, ultimately, really this comes down to personal preference, but what I talk about is what I like about the subscription boxes and maybe some constraints as to where I think they can be a little bit limited. So I hope you can go and check out that video because I'd also love to hear kind of your 2p worth on what boxes you've had, if you've had any, whether you think they're worth it or not, and what you like or dislike about them. Later in the week, I have my review for the read along I've been hosting for Throne of Glass, and this review is for Heir of Fire. So I'm finally going to be caught up with the reviews for the books I've read so far. If you're invested in my series read along of this and you want to take a look for yourself, I'm hosting a current read along for Queen of Shadows on Fable and Storygraph. So you can go and check those out. I'll pop in a link to those in the description below. But if you want to check out my spoiler-free review of Heir of Fire, I'll be posting that on YouTube later next week. And as always, I will wrap up the week with another weekly vlog to let you know what I've been picking up and my thoughts on where I'm at with those books so far. Hopefully some more reading progress to share next week. That's all from me in today's catch-up. Let me know what you've been reading this weekend, and I will hopefully see you around very soon. Bye for now.